What's good, family? I hope all is well with everyone. Welcome to the Truth Report. I want to really speak some knowledge on history today, family. And before I start this video, I just want to say, I mean no disrespect, but all truth will be intended in this video. Participating in the same functions, generation after generation, and not benefiting from those functions can start to make you complacent and self-satisfied, which in most cases, it evolves mentally into insanity. That's why I want to talk to you today about unplugging and withdrawing from wickedness. See, we didn't land on America like they try to teach you. America landed on us. The day that so-called Black Americans wake up from this witchcraft, sorcery, and necromancy that we have been so susceptible to is the day that we'll start the journey collectively of breaking the chains inside this matrix prison that was placed on us, placed on our forefathers by groups of devils. One of the most important revolutionizing ways to ignite our superpowers as the children of the Most High is to unite and uniform. Being uniformed neutralizes that jealousy, envy, and hate that we all have dealt with in our lives, at least for the most of us, whether it's through racism or self-hatred. The divided states of Jew America is ran by immigrants, corrupted governments, families, tribes, and gangs. Collectively, these wicked families dominate and control all 9 areas of activity: education, economics, entertainment, law, labor, politics, religion, sex, and war. Unlike the past, at this time in our society today, there's a lot of information out there to be studied. So when you don't see me on the internet for a month, just know that I'm still working to give y'all the truth. But it's very important, family, that the majority of so-called Black Americans realize that we've been lied to about who we are historically, biblically, and scientifically. How they erased our heritage, they rebranded our identity after they stole it. Then they replaced it with carefully crafted myths. What happened to our people was and still is the biggest heist and genocide / Holocaust that has happened to a specific group of people in world history. So to fully start your journey on of successfully unplugging and withdrawing from this wickedness, you will have to understand that it is a process, and you will have to have a well thought out, intelligent plan and some patience, along with prayer, while preparing yourself for a whole new reset in life. Because this current system we're all living in is currently going through a major reset. And it will continue to get worse for many of us before it gets better. See, family, the truth hurts, And most people don't want to be held accountable for what they do or what they've done. They'd rather get emotional, mad, upset, or simply just run from the truth. In this world, most of us is forced to change with the times. But the goal should always be for us to become free, sovereign people again, and not a slave to a psychotic system that keeps us boxed in based on our classification. And reclassification should be extremely important to all of us. The only way to start that process is to withdraw and unplug from paganism and wickedness. Stop celebrating all these holidays. It's time, family, to let go of all these false, man-made, or manipulated religions as well. The God that you worship and desire, listen, family, he's not going to fall out of the sky and save you or save us, because the Spirit of God is within us. So we must save ourselves. Everything we were taught was a lie. So it's time to let go of the whole beast system, as much as you can, at least. The system, for the most part, is already crumbling on its own. Their jealousy, hatred, greed, and false superiority mindset is the reason why it's crumbling. And if someone was to ask me if I gave a damn about it crumbling, my answer would be no. The destruction of the divided states of Jew America can't happen any faster. To me, it's just a game of Monopoly, and they're just waiting for us to realize that the money ain't real no more. The real money, aka the gold, was stolen by the colonizers a long time ago. It's definitely not easy to withdraw from things you've been programmed to do your whole life, pretty much. But you will have to unlearn everything you've learned and reprogram yourself to be able to operate with a competent mindset. You have to recondition yourself mentally and psychologically to be able to speak with a sound mind. You must remember that they want you to stay ignorant and dead within law. And ignorance of law is no excuse. Black Americans specifically has been socially engineered and socially constructed on the highest levels. Let me repeat that, on the highest levels, because we're all being socially engineered and socially constructed. But Black Americans have been engineered and constructed on the highest levels of manipulation, sorcery, witchcraft, necromancy, psyops, and COINTELPRO rituals / experiments. And being classified as Black, let's get into some real knowledge. Being classified as Black, meaning we're dead in civil law. We're prisoners of war. We're also prisoners of words. We are minimized as a people and controlled by statutes and codes. So in order to defeat the illusion of white supremacy, we have to defeat the system and replace it with a system of justice, one step at a time. And having a code of conduct is very important. That's an area we need to take more serious. Let's talk about law for a second. Here I have a timeline and a few grids I want you guys to look at. So timeline Philo de Se in the Black American experience. 1776, Declaration of Independence. Excludes enslaved Africans. Point being, no legal standing or personhood. 1857, Dred Scott versus Sanford. No rights which the white man was bound to respect. Point being, blacks are officially non-citizen. 1865, 13th Amendment abolishes slavery except as punishment. Point being, legal pipeline to prison begins. And that got a lot to do with the convict leasing. When a lot of us say slavery, a lot of convict leasing was going on as well. Look up convict leasing if you don't know what I'm talking about. 1871, Civil Rights Act makes all persons citizens. But, point being, black remains a second-class legal identity. 1933, U.S. bankruptcy leads to birth certificate system. Corporate personhood replaces natural identity. This is all business. 1964, Civil Rights Act grants protections. Point being, but only within the corporate U.S. citizen structure. 1980s, mass incarceration explodes. Our identity, point being, weaponized via legal codes and profiling. We're prisoners on paper, by law, and physically and mentally. And I'm going to continue to break it down. 2000s to now, legal status, black, still means stateless, civilly dead with no access to international law. Each step reflects a ritualized form of legal death. Philo de Se, biracial classification, meaning remedy begins with status correction. Courtroom as funeral, legal death by identity. You're ruled by 12. 12 jurors equal 12 zodiac signs. Celestial trial, not civil justice. Jurors represent cosmic judgment. Judge equal Saturn, symbol of time, law, karma, death. Presides like the Grim Reaper, final word of your fate. Being black in law, black equal civilly dead. Black Laws Dictionary. You have no statehood, no standing, you're presumed guilty before trial. Life sentence equals legal burial. Life in prison equals legal tomb. Status seal, ritual complete. System finalizes your death. And of course, once again, Philo de Se equals legal suicide. In Latin, felon of himself. Self-imposed death via identity. Unwitting consent to civil death. So this isn't justice. It's a ritual. The courtroom is the tomb and identity is the coffin. Let me take a sip of coffee real quick. Right here I have a flow chart where status correction. This is basically talking about status correction as far as like natural birth, which means living soul enters the world born to a family or a nation. Hospital registration, where parents unknowingly inform the state via certificate of live birth. Birth certificate created, name in all caps, which is a corporation. Caps, a corporation entity is formed. You're a corporation yourself, basically. So we have legal fiction versus living status. Let's talk about this. Black people, black legal fiction, designated in law as civilly dead. Once again, no standing in international law. You're tied to 14th Amendment U.S. citizenship. You're also viewed as property of the state. You have no national origin or tribal recognition. Just look how they doing us. They making it seem like we have no national origin or tribal recognition. Also, legal term, not ethnic or geographic. And like I said, we're subject to statutes, codes, and colorable law. Now let's look at white status. White recognized legal status. White people are considered living with full rights, protected under international law, because this is international law. You have foreigners who run your country. That's why they send money to foreigners, because they're sending money to their people. And the people here get nothing. You get nothing. You whites and blacks, whites get a privilege, but they're still slave to the system. That's why I told you guys earlier, because of hatred, greed, and jealousy and evil, these people want to be, these people think they are superior than us, and they're tearing the country down. But I love it. I love it, because you're not superior, and we want the country to be tore down. So good job, white folks. But anyhow, they're tied to national or sovereign identity. They're presumed with standing in court. They inherit land, legacy, and title by default. They're not a corporate fiction, and they're linked to lineage of thievery. Subject to constitutional and natural law. And by the way, let me say this. Black and white are not about skin. It's a social construct and legal destinations that determine whether you are ruled by codes or rights. Blacks are dominated and controlled by codes and statutes. Whites are free people who have rights. You get what I'm saying? Now, the mind of the beast versus the mind of God. This is where having a sound mind comes in at. This is how you determine if you have a sound mind or you don't. If you subscribe to the beast system or the kingdom of God. Let's break down the beast system. You are black, legally dead. You need the state to speak for you because you are property of the state. You are a threat, problem, or burden. You are ruled by fear and statute. You are incompetent until proven sane. Now, the kingdom of God, which most black people should be living under, all black people should be living under these laws, but it's going to take time. But the kingdom of God status, you are Judah, living soul, lawful being. You speak with divine jurisdiction. You are chosen, prophetic, and protected. You are ruled by love, order, and law. You are compos mentis by birthright. The dead mind versus the resurrected mind. I'm just showing y'all the differences so you can determine when you talk to people who look like us, they're one or the other. They either have a resurrected mind coming out of a dead state, or they have a dead mind and they want to stay there. Now, dead mind, dead mind, non-compos, calls themselves black, accepts civil death, emotionally reacts to the system, waits for permission to act, signs contracts blindly, identifies as citizen, not heir. Resurrected mind declares Judah, corrects legal status, thinks strategically, speaks lawfully, acts with divine authority and purpose, reviews, rebuts, and reclaims standing, lives as trustee of estate and kingdom. Now, you have the physical genocide through the manipulated world wars from the past, World War I, World War II, and the manipulated Great Migration, as well as the real Holocaust, the Black Holocaust, where they unalive well over 6 million of our people in gas chambers at their camps during these world wars. This happened during the infiltration of our land. And they said it happened to them. Now, a lot of white people died in the so-called Holocaust. So I don't mean no disrespect when I say it happened to us, because it did happen to us. The thing is, This is manipulation. They reversed the story. More than 10,000 white people died around this time as well. But that was just a cover up, basically. So I'm not going to belittle what happened to them. And I'm not going to say it didn't happen. I'm just saying the story they're telling you, telling the world, 6 million people, they talking about Black Americans. Okay. I just want to be clear about that. Now, basically, it was a quick reverse of history. This was done by the 6 European tribes and the North African Moors, also including the Koreans, the Japanese, which is an Asiatic bloodline who classified as Indians here in America during that time, and probably still now, you know. And then you have the paper genocide, because once you're classified as Black, which I just showed you, they basically stole our forefathers' names and birthrights and gave us their dead identity. They were dead coming to America. They the one came off boats and trains. You know, our people left Black on them trains and they came back on them trains white. You know what I'm saying? It was a whole setup. It was all pre-planned. But we basically got they're living our lives and we're living their lives today, basically. It's a reverse. They're not the superior ones. So when you say that you're FBA, it might mean something to you personally, because our forefathers, not only did they build the foundation of this land, but they also created and established the whole system before the infiltrators, imposters, and opportunists came here and benefited to this day off the reversed demonic system. So again, before I get off this topic, when you say that you're FBA, you're basically saying that you're a foundational dead American. Because once again, for the slow people, Black equals dead. So if somebody told you to call yourself an FBA 10 years ago, and they haven't publicly said, hey, we have to have a status correction, we have to reclassify ourselves because Black equals dead, they have to know today, even if they didn't know then. And I'm talking about the people or person who benefits off the name FBA. So you guys got to start thinking for yourselves and stop letting other people who you deem to be leaders or heroes control how your mind works. We won't get restitution or reclassification, family, without understanding, or should I say, overstanding the law. Nor can we control our culture that everyone stole from us. The reason why we don't have a culture is because the cultures were transferred. We have a death culture now because they took our culture. So when you hear Africans and all these foreigners and immigrants saying, hey, they don't have a culture. Of course not, because everything was stolen. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they understand that. But anyhow, we won't be able to control our culture, our land, or build a community without a code of conduct, because our goal is to replace the illusion of white supremacy with the system of justice. We can't win this war with guns either, family, or reacting emotionally. So a lot of information you learn throughout your life, it could be very upsetting. It could be very upsetting and make you not like people. But you can't react off emotion, and don't think you're going to do anything with guns that's going to stop this. They going to win that war. So it's going to take all of us to be able to speak within law. So I'm trying to be clear in this video that we need a competent mindset, and we have to believe in God too, because a lot of our women, a lot of our men do not follow God. We have to hold the law accountable. That's the first step to trying to break the system. You got to hold law accountable, because it's holding you accountable, even if you don't do nothing. See, these people will always tell you what they're going to do or what they've done. You just got to read between the lines, because they're going to lie about it. You know what I mean? Manipulation. So it's always important to be very discerning of these type of demonic spiritual beings. These people use all type of weather technology to destroy people's lives and take over their land. They've been doing this for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, man. You know, everything they do today and back then is ritualistic and symbolic, based on masonry principle that they stole from the original My Sons. Everything that they're doing today, they stole it from somebody that looked like us. And I said the original My Sons because that's the name. Like my mom, my father, my son. That's where Mason come from, which were sovereign people of the Republic some times ago, our people. These entities that I speak of today are master manipulators and psychopaths who specialize and practice in witchcraft, sorcery, occultism, black magic, necromancy, etc. Necromancy is a practice of magic involving communication with the dead by summoning their spirits and aspirations or visions for the purpose of divination, imparting the means to foretell future events and discover hidden knowledge, sometimes categorized under death magic. The term is occasionally also used in a more general sense to refer to black magic or witchcraft as a whole. And here you see you have the Order of the Eastern Star, which a lot of women subscribe to. You have Freemasonry, which is running the world of all the leaders of all different nations in this country right now. You have the Baphomet sign. You have the Lucifer sign as well. Also, witchcraft is when 4 million so-called white folks are controlling the land, while 47 plus million so-called black folks are waiting for Jesus to come back. This is a sad fact. That's why we, as prisoners in this country/corporation, must come up with a solution for the delusion. Come up with a solution for the illusion as well. If you don't know by now that all the people in these industries, no matter what color they are, corporations as well as these organizations, they all are together and they're against you. The entertainment industry, where they do rituals and sacrifices on people and connect it to the Bible, the scripted Bible that they wrote. And they do these things whenever they feel like it. You also have, the entertainment industry, the music industry, where it's very demonic. They do rituals and sacrifices in both of these industries on their artists and their family members, etc., whenever they feel like it, and they connect it to the Bible once again. The sports industry, where the games are rigged and fixed, where they do rituals and sacrifices on their athletes and their families, etc. And also, I'd like to add that Black Americans aren't allowed to own teams in an industry they dominate in, because we dominate in all industries except for the ones we don't really participate in. And we help bring billions and billions of dollars, generation after generation, which is trillions, to these families. The judicial system, where they control God's chosen people with statutes and codes, take their freedom and lives with immunity and no accountability. The education system, which is basically indoctrination, where people think education is more important than knowledge of God or self or wisdom. You never allow a servant of Satan to nurture the mind of your children. It's really just that simple. With the same lies that's been told to you, our mothers, our fathers, our great-grandparents. I mean, at some point, you got to ask yourself, it's just insanity to continue to do the same worthless process generation after generation. So, and this process hasn't gotten us anywhere, and I'm talking about collectively. Like, blacks are individuals. That's our biggest mistake, is being individuals, because collectively it hasn't gotten us anywhere. Most of our so-called educated black people are on the other side of the fence, practicing Greek philosophy and Satanism. All these boule, divine nine, fraternity males, sorority females, all these buck dancing, boot licking, Sambo, bed wench, Negro peons who has sold out their own people for the opportunity of a better life are really, in my opinion, a disgrace to this land. The dominant society job on a daily basis is to make plans to keep us blind so that they can stay at top based on your ignorance. We've been programmed into thinking our only job as a man is to protect and provide and die. Mow the lawn a couple times and die. But one of our main duties as men, especially in this position that we're in society as black men, one of our main duties is to problem solve. And we all know as black men that we have a major problem that needs to be solved. So I'm just sitting here wondering, how many more generations have to go by before we collectively decide to get on code and change things for the betterment of ourselves, our children, and our children's children? Because we can govern ourselves. We all need government and we do need police and authority, but we can govern ourselves because we're not going to be racist towards people. And wouldn't have to deal with the system. We can create our own system. I would like to say to so-called black people, teach your children that they are direct descendants of the greatest and proudest race to ever people the earth. And it's because of the fear of our return to power and a civilization of our own that may outshine others is why we are hated and kept down by a jealous and prejudiced contemporary world. But that don't mean we should stop fighting for what's rightfully ours. And it damn sure don't mean let's just let the system dominate us. We do have options. We must understand that there is 50 nations against one here in Jumerica. And yeah, you might rock with people from other tribes. We are the most welcoming race of people on land. You might rock with some of these other groups of people who may be cool peoples to you. You know what I mean? As an individual, because we're individuals. But at the end of the day, those same people will get on code with their particular tribe every time when it's necessary. So the only way we can stand a chance against the beast system is with strength in numbers, with our own people, with a code of conduct, united and uniforming, and having a competent mind to be able to speak for yourself, to basically prove you're no longer in a dead state. When we stop, everything stops. Remember, all these immigrant groups, whether they are classified as white, African, Asian, Latino, Hispanic, Indian, etc., they all profit and feed off our energy here on this land. They all profit and feed off our pain here on this land. They all profit and feed off our greatness here on this land. They all profit and feed off our hard work here on this land. And in return, for most of them, not all of them, but in return for most of them, all they do is give you their ass to kiss. Most of them, for the most part, undermined us. But they all receive intangibles from your criminal government. While most of us, the vast majority of us, stay in a prisoner's position collectively and at the bottom of their pyramid. So for all so-called Black Americans who separate themselves from their people. Listen, individualism won't save you. A lot of y'all would rather rock with everybody else from these different tribes than to build true understanding with your own people. A lot of y'all forgive these other tribes and stay angry and mad and upset with your own people. I want to say this, though, before I get out of here. Being compromised as a race is a choice. With my closing statement, I just want to say that in order to cure a disease, first you have to acknowledge that you have one. And in this corporation/country, all Black Americans, whether they are rich, poor, dirty, clean, smart, ignorant, nice, or mean, we all collectively suffer from this deadly disease called racism. That is a political force controlled by white supremacists. All whites and Aryan Nation people, especially here in the divided states, are racist, rather consciously or unconsciously. And if they ain't a racist, then they're a miracle. And being honest, me personally, I have never met a Caucasian, European, white person that I consider to be a miracle. That's just for me. Lastly, I mean no disrespect to people from other tribes in this country who don't practice hate towards Black people. I also don't mean no disrespect towards people from other tribes that speak and fight for Black people. I mean no disrespect at all. But still, all truth is intended. And telling the truth is not hate. Remember that. So at the end of the day has to end. When we unplug and withdraw from this wickedness, that will be the day the whole demonic system fall. Family, they all need us more than we need them. We just don't understand the system fully. So we just have to have a plan and get rid of this defeated mindset so we can continue to operate fearlessly, because we operate out of fear. At least that's what I see. But this video was made to remind you all that we do have options. Me personally, I don't respect none of these people, no matter what race they are, even if they Black, that play a role in upholding the delusion and illusion of white supremacy. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to disrespect people. That's just not my character. So I just have to tell the truth, but I don't have to disrespect people to make myself feel better. I'm not on that type of time, because you don't want to become what you dislike the most. Every day we have a chance and a choice. So let's make smart decisions, family. Y'all stay conscious out there, man. Y'all stay calm and keep exercising and elevating that mind of yours. And we got to start operating outside the box. Remember, though, keep God first. Y'all stay safe. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. The Truth Report has adjourned.